Hello there, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. Tonight we drift far beyond the planets and the comforting pull of our sun into the quiet clouds of creation that shimmer at the edge of eternity. These are nebulas, the soft, glowing nurseries of stars. They hang like vast veils of color across the darkness, light years wide yet weightless, their beauty woven from dust, gas, and light. Each one tells a story written in starlight, a place where destruction gives birth to brilliance and the remnants of dying stars gather to form new suns, new worlds, and new possibilities. Every hue, every glowing ripple you see in a nebula is the memory of energy reborn, a dance of matter sculpted by time, gravity, and light. Within these gentle storms, stars ignite, planets take shape, and the very elements that make life possible come alive. So, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let your mind wander through the silent halls of the cosmos. Let the soft light of creation wash over you, and feel the rhythm of the universe unfold. This is the most relaxing facts about nebulas, the birthplaces of stars. In the deep silence of space, nebulas drift like vast oceans of gas and dust. They are neither solid nor empty, but something in between, a mist of molecules spread so thin that a single breath of air on Earth contains more particles than a cubic meter of nebular gas. Yet, on a cosmic scale, these delicate clouds stretch for hundreds of light years, sculpted by gravity, light, and time. They are the universe's most patient artists, shaping stars grain by grain over millions of years. Every nebula is made mostly of hydrogen, the simplest and most abundant element in the universe. Mixed within it is helium and traces of heavier elements like carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen, the building blocks of life. These atoms once belonged to ancient stars that exploded long ago, scattering their remains across the galaxy. From their ashes, new stars are born. Nebulas are, quite literally, the cycle of existence, the place where death becomes creation. The word nebula comes from the Latin for cloud. Early astronomers used it to describe any fuzzy patch of light in the night sky. Only with the invention of telescopes did we discover that some of these patches were entire galaxies, while others were clouds within our own. The name remained, a poetic reminder that what once appeared as mystery still humbles us, even now that we understand it more deeply. The colors you see in pictures of nebulas are not just decoration, they are the fingerprints of elements glowing in space. Red often comes from hydrogen, green from oxygen, and blue from helium. When ultraviolet light from newborn stars energizes these atoms, they release photons, the light we see as those soft, mesmerizing hues. Every color is a chemical whisper from the universe, revealing what the nebula is made of and how hot or cold it might be. Though they appear calm, nebulas are places of constant motion. Winds from nearby stars blow through them, shaping their edges into waves and curls. Magnetic fields twist and stretch the gas into filaments, while gravity slowly pulls dense regions together. Over millions of years, these dense knots collapse, forming the seeds of stars. The nebula may look like a still photograph frozen in time, but in truth, it is alive, endlessly changing, endlessly creating. Some nebulas are born from endings. When a massive star reaches the end of its life, it explodes in a supernova, throwing its outer layers into space. The result is a supernova remnant, a glowing shell of gas expanding outward. The Crab Nebula, for example, is the echo of such an explosion seen on Earth nearly 1,000 years ago. In that explosion, heavy elements like iron and gold were forged, destined to become part of future worlds, maybe even part of us. Other nebulas are calm and cold, called dark nebulas. These thick clouds of dust block light rather than emit it. They appear as black shapes silhouetted against brighter backgrounds, like shadows carved into the stars. Inside them, hidden from view, the quiet work of star formation continues. secret nurseries where the next generation of suns is quietly being born. It's the universe's way of showing that creation often happens in silence. The Orion Nebula is one of the most famous in our night sky. Visible even with small telescopes, it glows softly below Orion's belt, a cradle of new stars just 1,300 light-years away. Within it, thousands of young suns are forming, surrounded by disks of gas that may one day become planets. When we look at Orion, we are watching a cosmic nursery in progress, witnessing the same process that once gave birth to our own sun. Not all nebulas are vast and diffuse. Some, called planetary nebulas, form from dying stars that are much smaller and gentler than those that explode. As these stars age, they shed their outer layers into space, creating shells of glowing gas. At their centers remain small, hot cores called white dwarfs, the remnants of what once was. Despite the name, planetary nebulas have nothing to do with planets. The term was coined because their round shapes reminded early astronomers of distant worlds. And then there are emission nebulas, the ones that shine most brilliantly. They glow because the ultraviolet light from nearby hot stars energizes their gas. The atoms become excited and release that energy as visible light, painting the cosmos with reds, blues, and greens. These are the nebulas most often seen in space photography, grand and colorful, symbols of both mystery and creation. They remind us that beauty, even on a cosmic scale, is born from energy and balance. In the quiet arms of the galaxy, there are regions so dense with gas and dust that starlight can barely pass through. These are molecular clouds, the coldest and darkest type of nebula, where temperatures can drop close to absolute zero. Yet it is in these frozen shadows that the seeds of new stars form. Tiny ripples in density caused by gravity or passing shock waves begin to pull matter together. Slowly, invisibly, a faint glow appears, the first spark of a star being born in the universe, as quiet as corners. When gravity finally overcomes resistance, a core forms within the nebula, a protostar. It begins to heat up as gas and dust spiral inward, feeding its growth. Surrounding it is a swirling disk of debris that may one day form planets, moons, and comets. From this simple dance, collapse, heat, and rotation, entire solar systems emerge. Every sunrise we'd ever seen began this way, as a speck of light hidden inside a cloud of cosmic dust. The famous Eagle Nebula, some 7,000 light-years away, contains one of the most breathtaking regions ever captured by the Hubble telescope, the Pillars of Creation. These towering columns of gas rise for light-years into space, sculpted by radiation and wind from nearby young stars. Within their tips, new stars are forming, glowing faintly through the haze. The image is so iconic not just because of its beauty, but because it captures time itself, the ongoing birth of suns in a universe that never sleeps. Every nebula tells a story of transformation. The same materials that once formed ancient stars are reused endlessly. Atoms that burned in long extinguished suns now swirl within new ones. If you could trace every particle in your body back to its origin, you would find yourself in the heart of a nebula billions of years ago. Nebulas are not distant spectacles, they are our ancestors, the clouds of creation that gave rise to everything that breathes, moves, and dreams. Some nebulas form after stars die gently. When a medium-sized star, like our sun, runs out of fuel, it expands into a red giant before releasing its outer layers. The result is a planetary nebula, glowing in delicate symmetry, with a small white dwarf at its heart. Over time, the gas disperses into space, enriching it with carbon and oxygen, the ingredients for future stars and life. Even in death, a star gives something back, ensuring that creation never truly ends. The Ring Nebula in the constellation, Lyra is one such example, a cosmic halo of gas expelled by a dying star roughly 2,000 light-years away. To the eye, it appears as a faint smoke ring. Through a telescope, it reveals subtle layers of blue and green, marking the slow fading of its central star. The Ring Nebula reminds us that endings in space are never abrupt. They fade beautifully, as if the universe itself believes in graceful goodbyes. There are also reflection nebulas, which do not emit their own light, but shine by reflecting nearby starlight. Their color is often a soft blue, the result of tiny dust particles scattering light in much the same way Earth's sky does. One of the most enchanting examples is the nebula surrounding the Pleiades, or Seven Sisters cluster. It glows faintly, like moonlight caught in dust, a cosmic echo of brightness, soft and ghostly, hanging silently in the void. When viewed through telescopes, nebulas appear eternal, but they are fleeting by cosmic standards. Over millions of years, they shift, collapse, and fade. A nebula might exist for a brief cosmic moment before its material becomes part of stars and planets. Yet even as they vanish, new ones form elsewhere. The universe maintains its balance through renewal. Nothing is wasted. Every particle of gas and dust will one day glow again. In this endless cycle, creation is never truly finished. It simply moves to another place. The shapes we see in nebulas, the tendrils, the wings, the spirals, are sculpted by stellar winds and magnetic fields. Radiation from hot stars pushes on surrounding gas, carving hollow bubbles and twisting filaments. Magnetic fields guide particles along invisible lines, forming arcs and pillars. To the human eye, it may look like chaos, but to the universe, it is design, a slow, graceful choreography written in plasma and light. The size of nebulas is beyond comprehension. Some stretch across hundreds of light years, distances so vast that a beam of light, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, would take centuries to cross them. Within their boundaries could fit thousands of solar systems, entire clusters of stars. And yet, their density is so low that if you could stand inside one, it would seem perfectly empty. The paradox of a nebula is that it is both enormous and delicate, a cathedral of nothingness that builds worlds. Some nebulas are vast enough to cradle thousands of new suns at once. Inside them, gravity weaves invisible threads, pulling together clouds of gas into knots of density. As each knot grows heavier, its pressure increases until hydrogen atoms begin to fuse, the very first flicker of starlight. When a star is born, it releases energy that pushes against the surrounding gas, shaping the nebula like a sculptor working in slow motion. The result is breathtaking: waves and cavities, curtains of light, and vast chambers glowing softly in colors beyond the reach of human eyes. What we see through telescopes is only a whisper of their true splendor, a frozen moment in an endless creation dance. Even within the same nebula, no two stars are born alike. Some will burn hot and bright, living for only a few million years before exploding in magnificent supernovas. Others, smaller and cooler, will shine gently for billions of years. The variety of life among stars is written in the very chemistry of their birth clouds. Richer nebulas create more complex systems, and sparse ones give rise to solitary suns. The diversity of the cosmos comes not from chaos, but from infinite variation in the balance of dust, temperature, and time. Every nebula, in essence, writes its own version of the sky. Many nebulas exist near the spiral arms of galaxies, cosmic nurseries tucked within regions of dense matter. As our Milky Way slowly rotates, these arms compress interstellar gas, triggering new waves of star formation. Nebulas appear, blossom with light, and eventually fade, only to be replaced by others further along the galactic arm. This slow cycle, repeated over billions of years, ensures that our galaxy never stops creating. Even as stars die and scatter their ashes into the void, new ones rise to replace them. The Milky Way, viewed from afar, would shimmer like a living organism, breathing stars in and out through the quiet rhythm of time. The shapes of nebulas are often given names by human eyes: the Horsehead Nebula, the butterfly, the cat's paw, the lagoon. These names reflect our instinct to find meaning in pattern, to see life and familiarity even in the vast unknown. But beneath those shapes lies physics, shock waves, magnetic tension, and pressure gradients sculpting gas into recognizable forms. What seems to resemble wings or a creature an S silhouette is simply the language of nature, geometry written in hydrogen and light. And yet, there is comfort in this human habit of naming. It reminds us that even in infinity we seek connection, beauty, and story. The Carina Nebula, one of the most luminous in our galaxy, is home to some of the most massive and volatile stars ever discovered. Among them is Eta Carinae, a star so powerful it nearly destroyed itself in the 19th century, erupting in a violent outburst that briefly made it one of the brightest objects in the sky. Today, it continues to pulse and breathe within its glowing cocoon of gas. The nebula around it gleams like molten fire frozen in motion, a reminder that creation and destruction are inseparable. Where stars die, nebulas form. Where nebulas form, stars are born again. In this endless exchange, the universe finds balance. Light from nebulas takes years, even centuries, to reach us. When you look at one through a telescope, you are not seeing it as it is. You are seeing it as it was, perhaps thousands of years ago. The Orion Nebula, for example, appears to us as it existed around the time humans first began building cities. The Eagle Nebula, YCO pillars of creation, may already have been destroyed by a supernova long ago, but the light of their beauty is still on its way to Earth. The universe, in this sense, is a vast memory, a collection of moments from across time, glowing together in the darkness. Nebulas are also the birthplaces of planets. Around newborn stars, disks of dust and ice begin to clump together, forming pebbles, then rocks, then worlds. The same process that builds stars also builds the homes that orbit them. The planets in our own solar system were sculpted from the leftover dust of the Sun's birth nebula, material that never quite became part of the star. So, when you touch the Earth beneath your feet, you are retouching ancient stardust, a fragment of the nebula that once glowed around our newborn sun 4.5 billion years ago. In the Trifid Nebula, 3 distinct regions converge, one emitting light, one reflecting it, and one dark with shadow. Together, they reveal the 3 faces of creation: illumination, reflection, and mystery. Through powerful telescopes, we can see stars forming deep inside the darker regions, their radiation piercing through the surrounding gas like lanterns in fog. Each point of light represents not just a star, but perhaps an entire system of planets yet to come, future worlds, future skies, and maybe even future eyes that will look back and wonder, as we do now. Nebulas are not quiet. Within them, particles collide, light scatters, and shock waves roll through like cosmic thunder. The space between atoms is immense, but the energy that moves through it is endless. If you could translate those vibrations into sound, the song of a nebula would be deep and slow, notes that take centuries to rise and fall. It is a symphony no ear can hear, yet one that shapes the galaxy. The rhythm of the universe isn't silence. It's a music played in light. Some nebulas glow not because of light, but because of heat. These are infrared nebulas, invisible to human eyes but revealed through special telescopes. Within them, dense dust hides newborn stars that shine faintly in warmth rather than brightness. Infrared astronomy allows us to see through these veils, peering into regions once hidden by darkness. It's as though the universe, once thought still and cold, suddenly reveals its heartbeat, gentle, radiant, alive. These invisible clouds remind us that even in what seems empty, Life and light are quietly blooming. The Lagoon Nebula, resting in the constellation Sagittarius, is a masterpiece of chaos and light. Stretching over 100 light-years, it glows with pink and crimson hues, where hydrogen gas is energized by fierce young stars. Within its depths, dense clumps of matter twist and fold, slowly collapsing into protostars. If you could stand within it, which of course no body could survive, you would see starlight diffused like fog, illuminated by 1,000 hidden suns. The scale would be impossible to comprehend. Every glowing thread, every shadowed swirl would represent the beginning of something magnificent. The Lagoon Nebula shows us that even chaos has grace, that in the stormiest regions of the universe, beauty and order quietly emerge. The Rosette Nebula is another of nature's quiet marvels, a flower blooming in the sky, nearly 5,000 light-years away. Its circular petals of gas are sculpted by the winds of the cluster of young stars at its heart. These stellar breezes blow outward, carving cavities through the surrounding gas and creating the delicate symmetry that gives the rosette its name. The entire structure spans more than 100 light-years, yet remains so faint that it can only be seen clearly through long exposure photography. Every swirl and color we capture from it is ancient, a message from a living structure that has been breathing for millions of years. When astronomers peer into nebulas, they don't just see clouds, they see history. Each element within them tells a story about its origin. Oxygen, carbon, nitrogen. These were forged in the cores of massive stars that lived and died billions of years ago. Their explosions scattered the raw material of life across the galaxy. In studying nebulas, scientists can read the history of stellar evolution, the genealogy of matter itself. The atoms in your lungs may have once drifted in the Orion Nebula, while the iron in your blood may have formed in a supernova, long vanished. Nebulas are the universe remembering its own creation. Some of the most mysterious nebulas are supernova remnants, the aftermath of cosmic explosions. The Veil Nebula, a delicate web of filaments 1,500 light-years away, is one such ghost. What you see is the expanding shell of debris from a star that died around 8,000 years ago. The tendrils of gas weave and shimmer like threads of silk suspended in darkness. They move so slowly that even after centuries of observation, their change is almost imperceptible. And yet, they are expanding, reaching farther into the cosmos with every moment. In their silent beauty lies a paradox. Destruction, creating elegance, endings becoming beginnings. The Helix Nebula, often called the Eye of God, is both haunting and serene. It's the closest planetary nebula to Earth, a mere 700 light-years away. Its ring-like structure is the outer shell of a dying star, once much like our Sun, that shed its layers into space. The glowing gas forms an eye-like pattern around the remaining white dwarf at the center. Through telescopes, it feels as though the universe itself were watching. But rather than judgment, what it reflects is continuity, a gaze of eternity. The same fate awaits our Sun, billions of years from now. The Helix Nebula is a glimpse into our own distant future, a vision both humbling and peaceful. In the vast Tarantula Nebula, located within the Large Magellanic Cloud, star formation occurs on a scale unparalleled anywhere near our galaxy. This nebula, 160,000 light-years away, burns with the energy of thousands of young, massive stars. The light they emit can be seen across intergalactic space. Within its heart lies R136, a cluster so dense that stars there are born in groups, their winds and radiation colliding in titanic bursts of power. Yet for all its violence, the Tarantula Nebula is a place of creation, one that will someday produce stars, planets, and perhaps even new worlds with skies of their own. Some nebulas are fossils of light and remnants of cosmic moments frozen in radiation. Astronomers call these fossil fields places where energy from ancient events still glows faintly in background wavelengths. These whispers of the past travel endlessly, crossing galaxies, carrying information about events that shaped the cosmos long before Earth existed. When radio telescopes tune into these signals, they are listening to the oldest stories in existence, the silent after-echo of the first stars. To observe a nebula is to witness the universe remembering itself, one photon at a time. Not all nebulas are massive and grand. Some, called Bach globules, are small, isolated clouds that drift like dark droplets through larger nebular regions. These compact cocoons are the seeds of future stars, hidden within their shadows. They measure only a few light years across, but hold the potential for immense creation. Within each one, gravity slowly weaves its quiet spell, pulling dust and gas together until the first glimmer of a new sun ignites. It's a reminder that not all greatness is vast. Sometimes the smallest, darkest spaces hold the beginnings of unimaginable light. The beauty of nebulas is not just in their color, but in their impermanence. They are moments in an endless cycle, existing between the life and death of stars. Eventually, their gas will either collapse into new suns or disperse entirely into the interstellar medium. Yet, their legacy continues. In the light that reaches us, in the stars that follow, and in the atoms that form life itself. To look at a nebula is to look at transition, at the universe caught in the act of becoming. It's a glimpse of eternity, wearing the face of change. Finally, there are nebular remnants that defy explanation, ghostly structures where radiation interacts with invisible matter, bending light into patterns that resemble art more than physics. Some look like veils, others like wings or spirals. These images, captured by observatories like Hubble and James Webb, stir something deeply human in us: awe, humility, and belonging. In them, we see our origins and our destiny intertwined. For we are, in every sense, children of these clouds, living echoes of starlight, aware for just a moment before we too return to the cosmic sea. If you could watch a nebula evolve over time, not for years, but for millions of years, it would move like smoke caught in a slow, eternal breeze. Great tendrils of gas would stretch and curl, pockets of light would flare and fade, and shadows would drift across the cosmic sea. What looks frozen to us is alive on its own scale of time. A single photograph captures only one heartbeat of its life, a moment of transition in a lifespan that outlasts entire civilizations. To the nebula, we are as brief as sparks, but to us, it is forever. The patience of the universe humbles everything that hurries. When the James Webb Space Telescope looked into the Carina and Orion nebulas, it saw something humanity had never seen before: the hidden structures beneath the dust. Using infrared light, Webb could peer through what visible light could not penetrate. What it revealed were cradles, delicate filaments, and clusters glowing with new suns. The images were both familiar and alien, clouds of gold and bronze rippling like underwater light. For the first time, we could witness the birth of stars directly. Each pixel, each swirl, was not an abstract painting, but the literal blueprint of creation, the universe showing us how it makes itself anew. A nebula is not merely light, it is memory written in color. The hues we see are more than beautiful, they carry information. Hydrogen glows red, oxygen shines green, helium emits blue. By studying the wavelengths of this light, astronomers can tell what a nebula is made of, how fast it's expanding, and how old it might be. Spectroscopy, the science of light analysis, turns beauty into understanding. In every glowing region, the universe writes in a silent code. And as we decode it, we realize that these clouds are not distant. They are messages, ancient and patient, waiting billions of years for someone to finally listen. Nebulas are the universe's storytellers, and their language is transformation. Some of the dust within them will form stars, Some will remain drifting through interstellar space, and some will one day find its way into living organisms. When Carl Sagan said, "We are made of star stuff," he was not speaking metaphorically. The carbon in your cells, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all of it was once inside a star, then scattered into a nebula. The elements that make you were forged in light, cooled in darkness, and reassembled into life. In every heartbeat, you echo the rhythm of the stars. The Omega. Nebula, also known as the Swan, glides gracefully through the constellation Sagittarius. Through telescopes, it resembles a celestial bird spreading its wings, a river of gas illuminated by newborn suns. Its serene shape belies the energy within it, stars forming in heat so intense that they could melt entire planets were they near. The Swan Nebula is a perfect example of duality, gentle in appearance, yet fierce in purpose. It teaches us that even the softest forms in nature are born from unimaginable power. The universe, it seems, wears gentleness as its most beautiful disguise. Dust, often seen as lifeless, is the soul of every nebula. Each grain is smaller than a smoke particle, yet capable of shaping the color and form of entire cosmic clouds. These dust grains are made of silicates, carbon compounds, and frozen molecules. Over billions of years, they travel through space, accumulating and dispersing until gravity gathers them again. In a way, dust is the blood of the galaxy, circulating endlessly, carrying the potential for stars, planets, and life. To call something dust is to underestimate it. For from dust, everything rises, including us. The interplay between light and shadow inside a nebula creates what astronomers call scattering fields, regions where starlight bends and diffuses through dust. The result is a glow that looks like mist illuminated by fireflies, but beyond its beauty lies significance. Scattered light helps heat nearby regions, allowing new stars to form. Even darkness serves a role. The interplay between brightness and shadow is not opposition, but cooperation, a cosmic balance. In the same way, the light of understanding in our minds often emerges from the shadows we dare to explore. The Cat's Eye Nebula is one of the most intricate planetary nebulas ever observed. Through high-resolution imaging, scientists have found over a dozen concentric shells surrounding its center, like ripples frozen in space. These layers record the dying breaths of a star, each shell marking an outburst thousands of years apart. At the nebula's heart, a white dwarf remains, shining faintly within its self-made tomb of color. The Cat's Eye is a cosmic timepiece, recording a story in layers of light. It reminds us that even endings have structure, and that decay, when viewed through time, can be as exquisite as creation. There is a kind of peace in knowing that nebulas are eternal recyclers. Nothing in them is wasted. When a star explodes, it spreads heavy elements that will one day form planets. When a nebula collapses, it gives birth to new light, and when that light fades, its remnants become the seeds for the next generation of stars. It is a process without beginning or end, a perpetual breath. Creation is not an act, it is a rhythm. The universe is not something that was made, it is something that is always being made. And we, tiny observers drifting in our own corner of stardust, are part of that ongoing breath. Perhaps the most humbling thought of all is this. When you look at a nebula through a telescope, some of the photons that touch your eyes began their journey before humanity existed. They have crossed thousands of light years through gravity wells and interstellar dust, just to arrive here, now, in your gaze. You are the final destination of ancient light. For one brief instant, the universe looks back at itself through you, and in that moment, you and the nebula are not separate. You are both made of the same matter, illuminated by the same energy, and carried by the same cosmic rhythm. The universe's most breathtaking images are born from the slow labor of light within nebulas. A single photograph of a glowing cloud often requires weeks of exposure time, capturing photons that have traveled for centuries. The colors we see in those images are not artificial. They are translations of wavelengths invisible to the human eye, mapped into the spectrum we can perceive. What the camera does is not invent beauty, but reveal it. Nebulas do not exist in our world of days and hours. They move on the clock of eternity. Through telescopes, we are not watching something happen. We are witnessing something that has been happening for millions of years. Inside every nebula, chaos reigns and order emerges. Shock waves from ancient supernovas collide with clouds of cold hydrogen, creating regions of turbulence that look like storms. These chaotic interactions compress gas into knots that may one day ignite as stars. It is a strange symmetry that disorder leads to structure, that noise gives rise to harmony. In the language of physics, creation is not gentle, but in the long stillness of space, it feels that way. If you could float through a nebula, you would not hear the violence, only see the light it leaves behind. A silent explosion stretched across time. Many nebulas are shaped by stellar feedback, the collective energy of the stars they give birth to. As young stars emit ultraviolet light and stellar winds, they push away the surrounding gas, creating vast cavities. In those hollow spaces, new clouds begin to form, ensuring that creation never halts. Astronomers call this process sequential star formation, a chain reaction of birth and renewal that can last for tens of millions of years. The nebula becomes a cosmic garden, forever blooming, forever scattering seeds across the galaxy. What looks like serenity is actually a self-sustaining cycle of endless creation. Light behaves differently inside a nebula. It bounces and bends, caught in waves of gas that scatter it in every direction. To an observer within, if such a place could be reached, light would not move in beams, but in veils. The sky would not have stars, only color, soft and shifting. You might look in one direction and see pale blue mist, and in another, faint crimson, with no edge or horizon. The airless silence would be absolute, but light itself would seem to breathe. In such a place, time would feel irrelevant. There would be only motion and stillness, coexisting like two halves of the same heartbeat. The scale of nebulas defies imagination. The Orion Nebula, visible with the naked eye, could fit over 200,000 solar systems within its span. The Tarantula Nebula is even larger, so massive that if it were placed in our galaxy, it would dominate our night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. Yet, even at that scale, its density is thinner than the best vacuum we can create on Earth. The vastness of a nebula is not one of weight, but of reach. It is a cathedral of almost nothing, and yet from that almost nothing, everything emerges. Nebulas are also the birthplace of cosmic molecules, complex compounds that may serve as the building blocks for life. Within their cold, dark regions, atoms of carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen bond to form amino acids and organic chains. These molecules hitch rides on comets and meteors, spreading through galaxies like seeds on the wind. The nebula does not just create stars, it may also sow the chemistry of consciousness. Every molecule that makes thought possible, the ones firing in your brain right now, once drifted through a cloud of cosmic dust, waiting for a home. When scientists measure the motion of nebulas, they find that many of them are spinning. Slowly, majestically, they turn, not as rigid bodies, but as vast currents of gas moving in layers. These rotations shape the spirals and filaments we see, and sometimes even dictate how clusters of stars form within. Over millions of years, angular momentum keeps matter balanced, preventing total collapse. The same principle that allows a nebula to form a star also allows galaxies to exist at all. From the smallest whirl of dust to the grandest cosmic wheel, the universe is a dance of rotation, everything turning, everything circling, everything in rhythm. The Crab Nebula, born from a supernova observed on Earth in 1054 AD, is one of the best-studied remnants in the sky. At its center lies a pulsar, a neutron star spinning 30 times per second, emitting beams of radiation that sweep across space like a cosmic lighthouse. Surrounding it, gas and dust expand outward in a cloud glowing with energy. To look at the Crab Nebula is to look at both past and future, the remains of a star, S-death, fueling the birth of others. It is proof that even after catastrophe, beauty persists, not as a scar but as light reborn. In some nebulas, stars form so densely that their radiation sculpts the gas into intricate lacework. The Butterfly Nebula, for instance, is a planetary nebula shaped like outstretched wings, its colors blending from gold to turquoise. The wings are actually symmetrical lobes of gas being ejected by a dying star, illuminated by its fading heat. If you were to look upon it in real time, you'd see no motion. Yet, over millennia, its wings spread wider, expanding into the void. It is the last gesture of a star that refuses to vanish quietly. Its beauty is both farewell and legacy. When viewed through the veil of science, nebulas are natural phenomena. But when contemplated through the lens of wonder, they become mirrors. Their endless births and deaths remind us that life itself is cyclical, that endings feed beginnings, and that even in destruction, something luminous waits to be born. The atoms that once belonged to stars have become eyes that can look back at them. The universe, through us, has found a way to admire its own reflection. In the quiet of the night, when you look up at the faint glow of Orion or the Milky Way, you are not just seeing light, you are witnessing memory made visible. Every nebula begins with silence, a calmness that hides unimaginable energy. Before the first star ignites, before the first light escapes, there is only hydrogen drifting through the void, waiting for gravity's call. Over millions of years, tiny motions accumulate, atoms collide, and invisible heat builds within darkness. Then, at last, the threshold is crossed. Nuclear fusion begins. A single spark in an ocean of gas becomes a sun. One light appears, then another, until the entire nebula shimmers with the glow of creation. What once was emptiness becomes radiance. In that moment, the universe repeats its oldest story. That light always emerges from stillness, and warmth always follows cold. The Horsehead Nebula, perhaps one of the most recognizable in the night sky, rises from the Orion constellation like a shadow sculpted from starlight. It is a dark nebula, a dense cloud that blocks the glow behind it, creating the silhouette of a horse's head. The beauty of the Horsehead lies not in its brightness, but in its darkness. It reminds us that not all creation is visible, and not all light is loud. Within its obscured regions, new stars are being born, hidden from sight. It's a paradox that runs through the universe, that sometimes the most important work happens in the quietest places. Nebulas teach us patience. The processes unfolding within them take millions of years to complete, longer than any human story, longer even than the history of our species. To a nebula, our entire civilization would pass in the blink of an eye. Yet their patience is not stillness, it is steady purpose. They move at the speed of gravity, not the speed of desire. Watching them is a lesson in humility, that creation, in its truest form, is slow, deliberate, and graceful. In a universe that never rushes, everything finds its place in time. Some nebulas are hidden in wavelengths we cannot see. The dark Doodad Nebula, drifting in the southern sky, is almost invisible to the naked eye. Yet through infrared lenses, it glows faintly, a thin stream of dust stretching across the stars. Its name, humble and almost playful, captures something human about astronomy, that even in the face of infinity, we still name things with affection. To study nebulas is to feel small, yes, but also connected, to find wonder in the invisible and meaning in the unknown. If you could drift through a nebula, your eyes would never adjust. Light would come from every direction, refracted and diffused by particles of dust. There would be no up or down, no sense of distance or scale, only gradients of color, faint and shifting, like breathing. You might pass through regions so cold they feel eternal, followed by bursts of heat that shimmer like dawn through fog. It would be both terrifying and beautiful, like standing inside a dream too vast to hold. The reality is that we will never experience this directly, yet through telescopes, we have learned to imagine it perfectly, to see with instruments what our eyes cannot see with flesh. Nebulas are the universe's canvas, and stars are its brushstrokes. As young stars form, their energy shapes the surrounding gas into patterns, loops, filaments, spirals, each one unique. No two nebulas are identical because no two stars are. The light that shines within them is both artist and art, sculptor and sculpture. The result is what we perceive as beauty, though the universe itself knows no vanity. It creates not to impress, but to exist. Yet somehow in existing, it becomes sublime, as though creation itself is an act of quiet joy. Astronomers have long wondered how such fragile structures can survive the forces around them. Galactic winds, radiation, and gravity constantly threaten to tear them apart. But the balance that holds a nebula together is more subtle than strength. It is equilibrium. Where energy pushes outward, gravity pulls inward. Where heat rises, cold condenses. This tension, this balance, is the heartbeat of creation. It's the same equilibrium that governs our own lives, growth and rest, chaos and calm, death and rebirth. The cosmos doesn't escape duality, it perfects it. In some nebulas, the light we see today began its journey when Earth was still young, before mammals walked the land, before oceans found their rhythm. That means that when we look at those clouds now, we're looking into the deep past, across thousands of generations. The photons touching our eyes are messengers from ancient time, carrying information about what once was. Every gaze upward is a form of time travel, a communion with history that predates memory. The stars that form from those same clouds may already be shining upon other worlds, where perhaps other beings look up and wonder the same. The universe hides artistry in mathematics. The shapes of nebulas, though seemingly random, follow predictable equations, fractals, turbulence, and flow dynamics. The same patterns that form in clouds on Earth appear on a grander scale in the dust between stars. It's as though nature reuses its favorite designs, painting galaxies with the same brush that forms the weather on our own planet. Science finds precision in it, art finds peace. Both recognize that beauty and logic are not opposites. They are partners, endlessly creating together. The most distant nebulas visible to us are billions of light years away, and so far that their light began its journey before the Earth even existed. Some of these are primordial nebulas, remnants from the earliest times after the Big Bang. They hold clues about how the first stars were born and how matter began to cluster into galaxies. When astronomers study these ancient clouds, they are not just looking back in time, they are looking at the universe's childhood, its first breath, and in a poetic twist, those same clouds, through countless cycles of rebirth, eventually gave rise to us, creatures capable of looking back and understanding where we came from. Every nebula is both a graveyard and a nursery. The same dust that once composed dying stars now cradles the birth of new ones. In the universe, endings and beginnings share the same space, separated only by the rhythm of time. This continuity defies our human sense of finality. When we witness the slow glow of a nebula through a telescope, we are looking at reincarnation on a cosmic scale, a reminder that nothing truly disappears. The atoms that once belonged to something magnificent are already becoming something new. The nebula is not mourning what it has lost, it is celebrating what it will become. The Ghost Nebula, faint and ethereal, drifts 550 light-years away in the constellation Cepheus. It earns its name from its haunting glow, pale blue and gold against the dark of interstellar space. But the ghostly appearance is not sorrowful, it's serene. Within it, dust grains scatter starlight, creating an effect that looks almost supernatural. These tiny particles, no larger than those in earthly smoke, transform invisible radiation into visible beauty. The nebula teaches us that even the smallest things, the unseen, the overlooked, can refract light into wonder. The North America Nebula, named for its shape resembling the continent, spans nearly 100 light-years across. It lies within the Cygnus constellation, glowing with a soft red hue from hydrogen gas. When viewed through long exposures, its intricate coastlines and bays of darkness resemble our own world seen from afar. It is a quiet cosmic irony that a cloud light-years wide can echo the shape of the land beneath our feet. Perhaps it's the universe's way of reminding us that patterns repeat, that the micro and the macro mirror one another, and that even in the vastness of space, something feels familiar, almost intimate. In the Heart and Soul Nebulas, two enormous clouds of gas and dust appear side by side, stretching nearly 200 light-years across. They seem to pulse together, connected by a faint bridge of gas, two halves of a single creation. Their names may sound poetic, but they're also fitting. Within these clouds, stars are being born in pairs and clusters, bound by gravity and shared origin. The heart and soul are not metaphors, they are physics turned into poetry. They remind us that connection between stars, between people, between all things, is the most natural state of the universe. The Cone Nebula stands like a sculpted tower of shadow, 6 light-years high, rising from the glow of the Christmas tree cluster. Its shape, dramatic and mysterious, is carved by radiation from nearby massive stars. Over millions of years, the light of those stars has burned away the surrounding gas, leaving behind this monumental column. It looks solid, but it is nothing more than thin dust, as ephemeral as breath. Yet in its illusion of strength lies its meaning, that beauty does not require permanence. The Cone Nebula, like all wonders of the cosmos, exists only for a while, and that impermanence is what makes it profound. Some nebulas are shaped by binary stars, two suns locked in an eternal dance. As they orbit each other, their combined winds sculpt the surrounding gas into spirals and waves. These patterns, captured by telescopes, resemble seashells or whirlpools of light. The interaction between two stars is both harmonious and violent, of an embrace that creates beauty from collision. In these celestial dances, we see the same truth that governs all relationships, that closeness changes both participants and that even chaos can create grace when bound by gravity's invisible thread. The Butterfly Nebula, also known as NGC 6302, is one of the hottest regions of gas in the galaxy. Its wings stretch for more than 3 light-years, glowing in blues and golds, formed by a dying star releasing its outer layers at incredible speeds. The temperature at its core exceeds 250,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than almost any other known nebula. And yet, from such heat comes beauty. Its twin lobes spread symmetrically, like an angel's wings frozen in flight. If one could give form to the concept of transcendence, it might look like this: a star in its final breath, becoming something luminous and serene. The Crescent Nebula, hidden in the constellation Cygnus, glows softly from shockwaves created by a massive, unstable star nearing the end of its life. It sheds its outer layers into surrounding space, forming ripples of gas that collide and shimmer. The result is a crescent-shaped cloud of pale blues and purples, a final sigh rendered visible. This nebula is not the end of a story, but a pause. It will one day merge with the surrounding material, feeding new stars. What we call endings, the universe calls transformations. In the heart of the Milky Way, cloaked by dust and time, lie countless nebulas invisible to ordinary sight. Radio and infrared telescopes pierce that darkness, revealing clouds larger and older than anything we can see from Earth. Some are so vast that they stretch between spiral arms of the galaxy, linking them like luminous bridges. Within these hidden realms, the next generations of stars are already forming, suns that will shine long after our own has faded. The galaxy is not static. It is breathing, inhaling dust and exhaling light. A pulse so vast we can only glimpse it in fragments. The most mysterious nebulas are those made not of gas, but of light itself. Phenomena like superbubbles, immense cavities filled with the radiation of thousands of exploding stars. These regions, glowing faintly in ultraviolet and X-ray wavelengths, are the result of overlapping supernovas blending into one vast echo. If ordinary nebulas are the cradles of stars, then superbubbles are their graveyards, places where the remnants of countless lives combine to form a single field of brilliance. They remind us that even in death, stars contribute to creation, that endings and beginnings are merely points on the same endless curve. Some nebulas are so vast that they can only be fully seen in composite images stitched from dozens of telescopes across years of observation. No single eye, not even one as powerful as Hubble's or Webb's, can see them all at once. These panoramic visions, often spanning hundreds of light years, remind us how limited human perception is, and yet how extraordinary it is that we can even glimpse them. The act of seeing something so large, so ancient, connects us to a scale beyond measure. To look at a nebula is to understand how small we are, and how magnificent it is that we can feel awe at all. The Seagull Nebula, soaring through the sky of the Monoceros constellation, appears like a bird in flight, its wings outstretched across dozens of light years. It is an emission nebula, glowing red with hydrogen and threaded with blue reflection regions. The symmetry of its form is an illusion created by perspective, yet it feels alive, a celestial creature frozen mid-flight. The seagull reminds us that form and meaning are reflections of perception. The universe paints no pictures for our eyes, but somehow it produces shapes that mirror our imagination. It's as though creation itself understands beauty, even without consciousness. The Monkey Head Nebula is another masterpiece of chance and physics. Located over 6,000 light-years away, it's a nursery of newborn stars surrounded by clouds that have been shaped into curves and hollows by radiation. Its nickname comes from its resemblance to a face, but the science within is even more profound. Hundreds of stars are forming in its hidden depths, each destined to shine for millions or billions of years. The Monkey Head Nebula is proof that humor and wonder coexist in astronomy, that in the middle of infinite seriousness, the cosmos still allows for play. The Running Chicken Nebula, glowing faintly in the southern skies, might sound whimsical, yet it is one of the most active regions of starbirth nearby. It spreads across a region almost 100 light-years wide, filled with glowing hydrogen gas and intricate dust pillars. When viewed in infrared, it reveals hidden stars in various stages of formation, some still wrapped in cocoons of their birth clouds. Its funny name belies its power. Within that chicken shape, countless suns are hatching. The universe seems to have a quiet sense of humor, yet hides grand mysteries behind names that make us smile. The Witch Head Nebula, haunting and graceful, appears as a pale blue profile of a woman's face, gazing toward the bright star Rigel in Orion. The color comes from reflected starlight scattered by fine dust, like moonlight through fog. Despite its eerie appearance, the nebula is peaceful, a vast cloud gently illuminated by the nearby star's energy. It reminds us that perception often colors meaning. What looks haunting is, in truth, serene. The Witchhead Nebula is a portrait not of fear, but of light caressing shadow, of the way illumination makes beauty even from darkness. The Bubble Nebula is one of the universe's most perfect sculptures, a nearly spherical shell of gas surrounding a hot, massive star. Stellar winds blowing outward have carved the gas into this bubble shape, which glows with gentle blues and violets. It is fragile, fleeting, and exquisite. The Bubble Nebula demonstrates that even destruction can produce harmony. The same forces that will one day extinguish the star are the ones that made this beauty possible. To gaze upon it is to see the essence of existence itself, impermanence transformed into art. When astronomers map nebulas in 3 dimensions, they often find structures that defy expectation, tunnels, cavities, and bridges that connect one region of gas to another. Some of these features span dozens of light years, linking what we once thought were separate clouds. This interconnectedness mirrors the nature of the universe itself. Nothing truly stands alone. Every nebula, every star, every planet is connected to others through gravity, radiation, and shared origin. Even across vast distances, everything moves in relation. The cosmos, vast and lonely as it seems, is ultimately one continuous whole. The Flame Nebula, near the bright star Alnitak in Orion's belt, glows with a fiery intensity that belies its icy temperatures. It appears as tongues of golden flame flickering in the void, but those colors are caused by ultraviolet light energizing the surrounding gas. Its dark filaments create the illusion of smoke and fire. In truth, it is a region of cold hydrogen, slowly giving birth to light. The Flame Nebula is nature's quiet contradiction. It burns without heat, blazes without destruction. It is the embodiment of balance, the perfect symbol of calm within motion. Some nebulas harbor stellar nurseries so dense that they become nearly opaque, blocking visible light entirely. Only infrared observatories can peer within, revealing clusters of newborn stars wrapped in dust. These hidden stars, unseen but powerful, illuminate the clouds from the inside out, slowly transforming shadow into radiance. It is a poetic image, light born from within darkness. In both space and life, brilliance often begins where no one can see it, deep in the unseen places, quietly gathering strength until the moment it shines. And then there are planetary nebulas, so faint that they can only be discovered accidentally. A telescope might sweep across the sky, capturing a faint ring of light, barely brighter than the background. These delicate ghosts, often the final breath of dying stars, last only a few tens of thousands of years before fading into the interstellar medium. Yet, in that short existence, they glow with extraordinary elegance, perfect spheres, loops, and spirals. They are reminders that beauty doesn't depend on duration. Even the briefest glimmer, if seen, can illuminate eternity. The Helix Nebula, often called the Eye of God, has been photographed more than almost any other. When you look into it, you see a structure so precise it feels intentional, concentric rings of color radiating from a dying star, its fading energy spreading gently through the void. But there is no intention, only physics. The beauty of the helix lies in its indifference. It does not shine for us nor for any purpose, and yet it fills us with reverence. This is the paradox of wonder. Meaning emerges where none was meant. The Helix Nebula shows us that awe is not given by the universe. It's created within us. The Spaghetti Nebula, stretching across an enormous patch of sky, is a remnant of a supernova that exploded thousands of years ago. Its delicate threads of light, resembling strands of silk floating in water, are the remains of a star's outer layers, still expanding outward. It is vast beyond comprehension, yet so faint it's nearly invisible to the eye. To capture its image, telescopes must collect light for days, patiently gathering what little reaches us. The Spaghetti Nebula teaches patience and humility, that even the smallest glimmer, when sustained, can reveal something infinite. In the southern Pinwheel Galaxy, a massive stellar nursery known as NGC 5461 glows with young blue stars and swirling gas. It's a nebula inside another world, proof that the cycle of creation repeats endlessly, from the smallest cloud to the grandest spiral of galaxies. Even galaxies are not solitary. They are built from the same breath of creation that forms stars. The same forces that shape a single nebula echo across billions of light years. The pattern never ends. The rhythm never breaks. From the smallest dust grain to the grandest structure, everything follows the same cosmic pulse. Some nebulas are illuminated by stars that no longer exist. The light we see from them is still traveling through the gas, still scattering and glowing, long after the source has faded. In a way, they are ghosts of light, radiant memorials to stars that once were. When we gaze at them, we are seeing echoes, and yet the beauty remains undiminished. It is a gentle lesson in resilience. Even when the source of brilliance disappears, its glow can continue, carried by everything it once touched. The Medusa Nebula, a tangle of soft filaments stretching through Gemini, is named for its snake-like tendrils of gas. Once a dying star, it now appears as a floating tapestry of green and gold. But beneath the mythic name lies quiet science. The gases expelled by the star are spreading into the galaxy, enriching it with the elements that will someday create new worlds. The Medusa Nebula shows us that every ending feeds the next beginning. Even as it dissolves, it gives life to the cosmos around it. In its dissolution lies its greatest gift. There are nebulas so distant that the light from them has taken billions of years to reach us. So far that in viewing them, we are looking at the early universe itself. These primordial clouds left over from the Big Bang contain the first whispers of structure, the first hints of form emerging from chaos. From them, galaxies were born. To observe them is to see creation in its purest state, not as myth, but as physics unfolding across eternity. In those pale, ancient glows lies our own origin story, written in hydrogen and time. The Eagle Nebula, with its famous pillars of creation, continues to inspire awe like few other sights in the cosmos. The towering columns of dust, each many light years tall, cradle the birth of new stars within their glowing tips. What appears still is alive with motion, wind, radiation, and time, sculpting the columns like divine fingers shaping clay. The Eagle Nebula embodies creation as an act of balance, destruction, clearing the way for new life. In those pillars we see both our cosmic ancestry and our spiritual yearning, united in a single vision of infinite renewal. When astronomers photograph nebulas in different wavelengths, visible, infrared, ultraviolet, and X-ray, each reveals a new layer of reality. What looks like a faint mist in one image becomes a fiery sculpture in another. The universe hides no secrets. It simply speaks in more languages than we yet understand. Nebulas remind us that truth is never single, never simple. It is layered, multifaceted, and always expanding. The more ways we learn to see, the more the cosmos reveals that it was never withholding, only waiting for our eyes to widen. The Soul Nebula, glowing beside its companion, the Heart, contains massive clusters of new stars that illuminate the surrounding gas with golden light. Together they form a kind of celestial embrace, a portrait of connection across light years. To the human eye, they are symbols of love and harmony, but to the universe, They are simple chemistry, radiation, hydrogen, and gravity, yet somehow, in our gaze, they become poetry. The heart and soul remind us that perception transforms reality, that beauty is not an illusion, but a collaboration between mind and cosmos. And finally, the Orion Nebula, our closest and most beloved stellar nursery, continues to whisper to us from just beyond our solar system's edge. It is visible even to the naked eye, hanging beneath Orion's belt like a soft lantern in the night sky. Every photon from it has crossed 300 years of space to reach us. When you look at it, perhaps with nothing but your own eyes, you are seeing the birthplace of stars not unlike our own sun. It is not imagination, it is not metaphor, it is real. You are gazing into a living womb of light. You are quite literally seeing creation happen. As we drift away from these vast glowing clouds, let us pause in the quiet between stars. The nebulas, those luminous veils of dust and gas, are not faraway decorations scattered across the void. They are the very lungs of the universe, inhaling the remnants of the old and exhaling the birth of the new. Every atom, every spark of light, every living thing began within them. You began there. The water in your veins, the carbon in your skin, the iron in your blood, all were once drifting particles inside a nebula, waiting for gravity to draw them together. To think of that is to realize something profoundly humbling. The universe is not somewhere else. You are not separate from it. You are made of it. The same energy that ignites stars hums quietly in your heartbeat. The same cycles of birth and renewal that unfold across galaxies are mirrored in your own moments of change, your own small acts of creation. When you look up at the night sky, the faint glow you see is not distant. It is home, stretched across billions of years, waiting for your gaze to return. The nebulas remind us that, even in darkness, beauty is always being woven, that silence is full of meaning, and that endings are only pauses before the next beginning. If you listen closely, you might sense it, a rhythm that moves through everything. It is the same rhythm that guided the first stars into being, that shaped the galaxies, and that now breathes through you, the pulse of existence, the heartbeat of light. So as you close your eyes tonight, imagine yourself floating through those quiet clouds of color, past crimson veils and sapphire wisps, past the slow glow of newborn stars. Imagine the peace of weightlessness, the warmth of creation wrapping gently around you. In that infinite calm, let your thoughts scatter like stardust, and let sleep come softly, like a nebula fading into dawn. Thank you for joining The Sleepy Scientist tonight. If this journey brought you peace, consider subscribing for more gentle explorations, where knowledge meets stillness, and the wonders of science become lullabies for the mind. Until next time, may your dreams drift among the stars, and may your heart remember that you too are made of light. Good night.